We kind of just said aquatics. So kind of the same thing as Chris. It's like what you guys want to get the most out of it. So I've got a background in water polo, surf lifesaving, like pool, international lifesaving, and underwater hockey. So I can basically like
come on, ballet.
Yes, Charlie.
Anything around those kind of things. So I was going to start with water polo and then lead into the life saving, and then how you can use some of the pool life saving stuff in terms of the water, so making the water safety stuff more interesting, because it is like international life savings are massive. It's like 50 plus countries, they have the world champs, and we're just two back-to-back winners. So it's So I thought if we started with like the fundamentals around head-up swimming. So just butcher your swimming technique you just learned completely, and get you a bit warmer and just do some fun things around that, and then egg beating. So again, you can bring that into, that's all your survival stuff. So key things with head up swimming, anyone?
Keep your head up.
Yep.
Keep your head still and focus on where you want to go.
Nice. What happens to your stroke compared to what we just led?
Sure.
Yeah. And so first thing I thought was just do like 4 strokes head up, 4 strokes head down, just for a couple of lengths just to get you a bit warmer again, but then just see the difference between when you put your head back down, the lengthened stroke to the shorter stroke, and also what it does for your kick. Okay? 4 strokes up, 4 strokes down. You're dribbling with the ball. That position is so that person's trying to steal the ball. Next time you do a stroke, your head. Yeah. But because in surf life saving and then like when you're doing a run swim run and things like that, really you're only looking for weight. You'd only swim like do short. You wouldn't swim a whole race or even rescue with your head up, because it's just so taxing on your whole system. So the other key thing like for water polo is head up backstroke swimming as well. So they use that as your going from offence to defence, and same thing, always being able to locate where the ball is within the play. So again, butchering your backstroke technique, shorter arm strokes again, head up looking so you can keep your eye on the play, and higher leg drive.
You are talking about people who are competent in the water though, so it's not like...
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So it's basically just...
Let's get up backstroke.
Oh, yeah, rather than dropping your head back, having a higher hip. Alright. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
Hip sounds not a problem.
Yeah, I'll be good at that.
Just give it a go. It is quite similar. It's pretty similar to backstroke. Yeah, again, you're not going to, in terms of water polo stuff, you're probably not going to do this with your kids that are struggling swimming. But this year with my year 10s, we played water polo, and at Girls High, one end of the pool was about 50 foot deep, and the other end's about 50 centimetres. And so we got the kids that weren't as confident in the water to play in the shallow, so they played more flippable and used bottom of the pool, and then the more confident swimmers used the deeper end. So they're still going through the basics. So do 1 length backstroke head up, and then coming back do 4 strokes head up, 4 strokes on your back. So kind of like the corkscrew, but you're going to 180, 180.
Well, they still got the bicycle here, or is that rolled up?
And that swimming, they everything, they start to go like the core goes, and the legs start, when they kick, they look like an octopus trying to get out of the bag. And so the arms, and then the head's going, and then the legs are like. So it's really trying to keep that core, because they go like in unit, and the strength to keep their heads like in that extension position. So what we'll do is just make our way to the deep end and go through the treading water. So again, real key for survival. And a lot of people resort to the frog instead of the treading. So if you go through the technique for treading water, so that your kids then you can teach their hands going, they can hopefully keep themselves afloat if they needed to between lying on their back and doing that for 5 to 7 minutes, because realistically in any kind of rescue situation you're still going to be looking at that kind of length for somebody to be able to get them. So because then you can actually get them to, because it should be like sitting in a chair, so they should be, when you learn to tread water, it is you're flexing at your hip joint, and you're treading, the treading actually happens in front of you. So as soon as you see people and it's underneath, they tend to start going into that frog and then bobbing, and that's way more taxing than doing a tread where you've got one leg working and then the other leg working. So if they can get into that seated position to start with, and then as one hip is basically in triple flexion, so you're flexing ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint, okay, the other one is in full extension, okay, so you should have hip extension, knee extension and plantar flexion of your other foot. So this is where you can start to use it in 2.2. Water polo is quite a good one to do for the biomechanics, because between the throwing and the treading water, they just about cover every muscle group, so that's quite a good one. So this one, if I'm using my right one,
You can just suck it up.
from the deep side. So this one goes internally, like rotating through here and flexing at the hip and coming, you're making that circle before it kicks out again. So same thing as what Chris said, that little kick out at the end, okay, so that's the extension, and the in, it's just an inward circle, kind of like the breaststroke arms, but the reverse. So you're like scooping the inside of the bowl and then kicking away, okay, so scoop and extend, scoop and extend. So there is a lot of internal and external rotation happening at your hip joint, and then the kick away. Okay, it's one of the worst things to try and demonstrate, but if you honestly sitting up like this, it's quite good to, so you can bring that foot extended out, internal, external. And if you think, do drill just with, if you can't get it, do one leg. These are real good to practice. Internal, kick away, and get one leg, and then do the same thing on the other leg. And then to piece it together, you just got to go, when one's flexing, the other's extending. So brain gym again. So
But it's just as effective going the opposite way.
See, I find
the
it
You're
external.
going in,
Yeah.
but it's easier for me to go
Go
out.
external?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I just can't, like from a survival point of view, I'm like, if you can keep afloat and it's energy efficient. From egg beating, I've never,
I got one going in and one going out.
You get one, it goes around.
yeah.
Are you left footed?
Have you got goals? Or you'll be able to see?
Are you left footed?
No.
No, I'm left footed.
I think it's probably because I got bad knees and it's just what I've done. Can you see?
Yeah. You're kind of like
It's not going a full
it's not
circle,
right
it's sort of a
it's
stab.
like a,
Half straight, half straight.
it's quite, yeah. So,
Okay, tell me.
It'll be for
You know how
like
you're
MMA
sitting in that
fighting.
seated position?
Yeah.
Your legs, they're not really going down, are they?
no, they are, yeah, it is like your egg beaters and your, your electric egg beater. It is literally like that.
You're going out as well.
Because what you'll find is that if you had to hold something, so I kind of go, if you had to hold a trial, you had to hold, if you wouldn't be able to keep up, you wouldn't be able to sustain that. And that's the whole thing with the one, as one's in, one's extending, is that it's a constant, so you want to be able to maintain that evenness in the water.
It's like a river.
so that then if you were adding
It's funny, people think I'm a good
into
dancer.
it or having to hold on to something, then you can, you're constant in the water. Yeah, because your kids that do this, they never will be able to throw a ball because you can't. You need to maintain that upper body under the water.
Someone's got a life jacket on.
And as they go faster,
That's where I died.
Look at me under the water.
and then you'll see your kids bobbing, because it is easier to spot from outside the pool than inside the pool. As they start to get, but getting that hip flexion, so even this, getting them to use their arm sculling, so your little figure eights in the water to get the hip flexion, and then really slowly one leg in, one leg out. So I made my year 10s water safety. We started off with just 1 minute, and they had to either tread water, just alternate between treading water and laying on their back, and to get to 7 or 8 minutes as part of their what they needed to do for their own survival. And so each lesson, that was how we started. The lesson was with the treading water and the sinuses and the just literally floating on the back as well. So can you all float on your back?
Now you're talking my language.
No.
I have to use my hands to keep me going.
There you go, yeah. And also getting to think, like Chris said before, about keeping your lungs, trying to keep your lungs as full as you can as well. Yeah.
Are we allowed to use our hands?
Yeah. Will really struggle even to keep themselves afloat on their back in calm water. So you think that quite often they would have to use this as a survival technique in turbulent water. So doing things with your class where you get the create the whirlpools, but do it in a shallow water before you move to like getting them to swim, to do it in the deeper water as well. And even just having people in your class with flutter boards and having 3 or 4 people at a time having to do the floating surviving on their back with all the treading water, with the rest of the class making waves, because people can do things in calm and then when it push comes to shove. So going to do a couple of treading water, just going to go to halfway and treading water on going backwards. Hands out of the water. So flexing at your hips. Lower leg, rotating one and then other.
I've got my own little technique going, but it's not the right one. That's probably one thing.
So it's one leg flexing, full flexing, one leg full flexing, flexing. Yeah. Can do shoulder to shoulder, and so same thing you're doing the front to front. So if I put my hands on your shoulders and you put your hands on my shoulders, you're going to do that. The exercise we just did, but you kind of put pressure against each other. So I'm going to try and push you back, and you're going to try and push me forwards, and so you are creating that.
This one to the bottom.
Trying to push.
Wasted.
Back, and so if again work for both, so we're following started working in defensive positions, or you're trying to basically have your weight into someone to defend between you and the goal. But also in survival techniques, if you got into a position where somebody, you came too close, there was a person who was actually drowning and they want to take you out. Okay, so it's like knowing that if someone's here, I can stop to do some of the throwaway. I end up getting used to being manhandled a little bit. The same thing that people go to help somebody, but then they freak out because they're actually getting drowned themselves. So you can use just those little games as ways, and you can also do the leapfrogging thing. So if people are okay with having people pushing over and under, so you do the same thing from here, both treating water, and then you go. And then next person. And again, it's just getting used to not being in control and being okay with being under the water. And so when you get into wave situations, start a race like triathlon type situations, that they're used to not necessarily being in control. Do you want to bring in balls or do you want to do tubes? Tubes?
One or the other, or one before the
Oh,
other?
you can do it, but it just depends how cold if you're all... We'll grab the rescue tubes. I purchased rescue tubes and you don't have any. Don't get these. They're terrible. Could try and get the proper, there's broken ones down there, but these the two clips they're really short, and these two clips, so what I found with most of my year 10 girls, we couldn't even get this tube round them, and so that was really crap to begin with. And because the rope is so taut, because with the red ones you can put them round anyone, and they when you go to swim they pull tight so you can still clip someone in, but these they don't bend very well, and so then it doesn't mould round, so you wouldn't even get this round Gibbsy onto a clip. So that's the biggest clip size. So, yeah, they're rubbish. Obviously,
Who owns these ones?
the lanyard goes round your one shoulder, under the other arm. So, with my year 10s, I did talk rescue from the side of the pool, did assisted rescue, like throwing them something, did throw rescue, and then did an assisted rescue without a rescue tube, and then did a tube rescue. So we talked through the steps the whole way. So coming in, all the basics of you want to, hi, I'm Marie, I'm a lifeguard, I'm here to help you. So trying to give them that reassurance. I just need you to stay calm. I'm going to pass you the rescue tube. I want you to put your arms over top of the rescue tube so that you've got them in the right position, and then you can hopefully talk them, because if they're freaking out they probably won't be able to do that, but once they've got hold of that, then they can't grab hold of you. Big thing I push with my classes is that heaps of people have drowned in the last 18 months rescuing other people, and then the person they went to rescue has actually survived. So it's been the person who went to rescue has been the person that drowned. So then you ask them, you just tell them that you're going to clip behind. If you've got an able person who can assist you, they can squeeze with their arms to pull the tube in. But most people who are drowning behind red tubes are pretty easy. So again, the red tubes have really good clips that as soon as it hits that ring, it will lock into place. These have really crappy ones. So once you've got them into there, if you're in a pool situation, it's pretty sweet because you're never going to swim in the pool. So from there you can start, and then and away you go. The other thing we tend to teach tube rescues in pools, and we do it without fins. You'd never do a tube rescue in the ocean without fins. You know, if you went out to them with a tube, you'd just probably just stay there until someone else arrived. But so if you've got access to fins, or your students have got fins, then do all this stuff. And if you're doing level 1, the beachhead, what unit is that?
We got for 1.3.
What? Yeah, I think we have. It's been the same. Because you can do all the fundamentals of this before you go into the surf to do the same thing, is that they're practicing with the with fins on, and any type of fins. So, but definitely do a swim 25 metres with the tube if you haven't done without fins, because it's bloody hard work. And yeah, so kind of into that action. So just putting it out to the person, getting them to relax, coming in behind. Oh. I was trying to clip it on the wrong clip, clipping it in, say we're going to head towards and where we're going. And you can tell them if your patient can assist, like that. If you're doing it for like life-saving competition, your patient would do that extension to get better in the water. So give it a whirl. It comes out.